Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today I am going to talk about my current trio of romance novels, Tearing Down the Wall, Freya's Baby, and Freya's Baby Shattered. Let's get into it. So these three books are honestly massive. Well, Tearing Down the Wall is a normal sized book, but Freya's Baby and Freya's Baby Shattered are some of the longest books that I have written thus far. They are hefty. And all three of these books go together in that they are not like a chronological series, but they are the same characters in all three stories put in different situations. So they are non-congruent, but they all like go together, if that makes sense. And more specifically, Freya's Baby and Freya's Baby Shattered are the same storyline, but they are alternate storylines. So they both start off the same, but Freya's Baby is that they end up having the baby. Freya's Baby Shattered, they lose the baby. So it's not even like a choice, it's they lose the baby. So Freya's Baby is all about the family that you're born with and the family that you choose along the way and how you decide to build your own family. Shattered is about dealing with mental illness and grief and loss and how to move forward when you feel that your entire world has been destroyed. Even though it's the same storyline to start, they go to very different places, and the message of these books are so very different. And all three of these, as I've talked about in the past, and I always find this funny to tell people, is that these three books started out way back in I think 2010 or so as fan fiction. And not just any fan fiction, Hey Arnold fan fiction. Since then, these have been completely rewritten and polished up and all that, but that's how they started off. And I feel like in certain ways, the characters still retain some of that energy. There are little whispers here and there. It's always interesting seeing where a story was born versus once it's a completed published book, how different it is from the initial little kernel of a story idea. These three stories, I didn't originally intend to make them into published works when I first wrote them as tra-la-la fan fiction and whatever. It was because I had already published Love of the Sea. I really loved the story of Tearing Down the Wall that I had written. And all of my fans really loved the original fan fiction. And I was like, well, if all of these people love this story so much, won't they also love it as like a proper book? And so I decided to experiment with that. And so I took the fan fiction and I rewrote it into Tearing Down the Wall to see how that goes. And I went to a library event, a local library event, to network and sell my books and all that. And my booth was next to a romance author, like that's all she does. And she had a lot of books. And she told me the secret sauce is once you get to 10 books, that's when the magic starts to happen. That's when you really start to see your readership and your sales really go up. Because with this genre that's very much, people like more of the same. Once they find an author they like, once they find a trope that they like, they want more of the same. And so if you're an author that has 10 plus books, they can rest assured that, oh, this author has a lot of books, and if I like their book, I know that they have more books that I'll probably also enjoy. That doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily like all 10 of your books, but they'll probably at least like the majority of them. And that's really what they're looking for. If you only have 1, 2, 3 books, they're like, I don't know, that's kind of an investment. What if I don't like their books, or what if I like one of their books and then I don't like the other two, and then who knows when they're going to come out with another one, if they come out with another one. So that's kind of where the mentality of that goes. And when she told me that, I was like, oh, well, that is good to know. Because I was also sitting on these. The timeline for me being able to turn this from fan fiction into a book was a short amount of time, which is why it was kind of like bing, bang, boom. All three of these kind of came out in a row, one after the other, is that they were already written. It was just a matter of doing some rewriting and editing and getting everything up to speed and everything. I wasn't creating anything from scratch, far from it. And I had already done a lot of reworking of these because as you release these, your readers give you a lot of feedback. And so I was going back and like redoing chapters with feedback and then also going forward with the chapters that I wrote, taking that feedback. So by the time it was a finished fan fiction piece, it had already been beta read and edited and critiqued a lot. And it was just a matter of putting it together to be more of the expectation of a real book. And so I took that advice and I was like, this sounds like a very good idea. I think that's what I'm going to do. I already have these stories. Why not? People enjoy them. I know people enjoy these stories. Why don't we make them into books? And so that's what I did. I'm really glad that I did because people have found these books both from the old fandom and then also new readers who don't know anything about them originally being fan fiction or anything about the fandom and stuff like that. And just seeing both of these types of readers enjoy the story. And I don't want to say enjoy the story just the same because it's not the same. There are differences in what they love about it and why. But that enjoyment is there. That they clearly are like, this is a great story and I love it. And I know that the more of these that I put out there, the more likely I'm going to be able to build that readership. But I also am not a romance author. I'm a multi-genre author. And first and foremost, my big stories that are the most important to me are my fantasy stories. And I also love writing historical fiction. And there are a lot of other things that I enjoy writing as well, but fantasy is really tops. I don't want to just not write the other stuff that I write. I want to continue writing what I love writing, but I also want to explore this other aspect as well because I already have a bunch of these kind of stories kind of sitting in the wings. Why not do something with them? And so I came up with this trajectory of my projects in order to be able to fulfill both of these lines of books. I'll publish a genre book, and then I'll publish a romance novel, and then I'll publish a genre book, and then I'll publish a romance novel, and just kind of back and forth like that. So because I publish Succumb to Darkness, I then put Be Mine next on the list. And now that Be Mine is completed and it's basically in a holding pattern for the publication process of cover art and layout design and blah, 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 all that stuff. It's waiting in the wings to then be made into a book and be born out into the world. And so now I'm working on another fantasy book. And that fantasy book happens to be book 1 of my larger fantasy series. And I'm very excited for it. But then after that's out, I'll put out another romance novel. And as of right now, I have on my list, on my workstation, that I'm going to work on Clover Companion next for the next romance novel. And it has a little bit of a sci-fi element in that it's the idea of these like robot android sort of companions, and our protagonist falls in love with her companion because she just had no luck with relationships in the past, and then things happen. But I also have another story waiting in the wings, which is a part of these. And it is called Learning to Walk. And depending on how I'm feeling and where my attention is and all that, depends on whether I stick with my original plan of working on Clover Companion or of switching focus and working on Learning to Walk. That's kind of we'll cross that bridge when we come to it kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, I always have my primary focus novel, and then I have a secondary novel so that I can keep up the energy, and when things start to get boring, I can work on my secondary thing to kind of get the juices flowing again and get excited about working on my other project again. And it's really what my attention gets pulled to with that secondary novel is really what ends up being the novel that I work on after the primary one, is the one that kind of takes focus. Because originally I was actually going to work on Clover Companion after Succumb to Darkness, but I just got so sucked into doing Be Mine that I'm like, we're gonna make this be a book. And that's just kind of how it happens. And so Learning to Walk is the same as this, where it's the same characters, but it is actually a sequel to Freya's Baby. So Freya's Baby is about Alex and Freya, and they, senior year of high school, have an oopsie, homecoming night. Things get a little hot and heavy, and Freya gets pregnant. teen pregnancy, that's a whole thing. That's a tough subject, and Freya has a tough home life, and Alex has his own issues, and they get through all of that, and they have the baby. And I'm not spoiling anything for y'all, like, it literally says that on the back. Like, and as everybody who reads romance knows, it's not about the ending, it's about the journey there. You already know they're gonna live happily ever after. That's the whole point of the story. But you want to know how they get there. And I'm not going to spoil how they get there for you. They have the baby. And so learning to walk is then about these young parents who just graduated high school and just had a baby, and now, okay, we got to figure our lives out. Welcome to adulthood. And struggling with, can we go to college? Is that even an option for us? And how would we handle going to college and having an infant? And do both of us go to college? Do only one of us go to college? Do neither of us go to college? How do we deal with this? And having all of this foisted on them so suddenly as well. It's kind of like whiplash, and now the dust is settled. They're kind of like looking around like, okay, this is our lives now, I guess. What do we do with that? I've had a lot of fun kind of playing with that story, kind of like in the wings, so to speak, because I do that as well. I also, beyond my secondary project, I'll also just kind of every once in a while be like, I just feel like playing with this story for an afternoon for funsies, because y'all, I have a list. I have a database of novels. I have over 90 novels in different levels of completion that I just play with on a regular basis. And it's this system that I've built that enables me to be able to finish books at the pace that I do. I wish I could finish them faster. I would love to finish them faster, but here we are. I'm doing my best. But yeah, I have so many stories to just pick from and work on. And that's what I do is I play with them. I have a fun time, all that. And that's one of them that I've been having a fun time with, which is here and there, rereading it, adding a little bit more stuff, exploring it, adding more outline stuff to it. And that's kind of where Clover Companion is at too. So Learning to Walk and Clover Companion, as of right now, are kind of in the same place of where they're at in how much is completed. It's not even like one is more complete than the other that would motivate me to want to complete one over the other. It'll really be what's going to take my attention after I finish the first book of my fantasy series. I very much want to finish Clover Companion because I said I would. I also have people who really want to know, well, then what happens next? Please tell us. So there's that as well. There's motivation behind both of them. But having all these different storylines that I work on is so much fun, but it is so easy to get lost in the weeds and just be chasing plot bunnies and, oh, I'm going to work on this and oh, I'm going to work on that, and then at the end of the day, nothing really gets done. It's a process. I cannot guarantee when Clover Companion will be done. I cannot guarantee when Learning to Walk will be done, but I can guarantee they will get done eventually. So, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. Alright, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.